Okay, so this is definitely news. I was not planning on being at my desk right now. 20 minutes ago, I finished my soccer game and I went to the sidelines and checked my phone to see texts and saw a bunch of notifications of people saying, hey, Nintendine, Bowser is retiring effective December 31st. And yes, that is Doug Bowser, not King Bowser himself. The president of Nintendo of America, Doug Bowser, formerly from EA, one of the worst gaming companies in the history of mankind. Now, okay, which hat do you guys want me to put on for this one? Should I throw on the conspiracy hat, or should I throw on the level-headed discussion hat? I guess we can shift back and forth between the two, because I know which one you guys clicked on this for. So Bowser leaves with dignity, for now at least. Nobody's thrown him under the bus, nobody's saying that anything is blamed on him, nobody is currently saying they've decided to part ways with him. The announcement is that Nintendo of America Inc., NOA, today announced that Doug Bowser will retire as the President and Chief Operating Officer on December 31st, 2025, after more than a decade in multiple leadership positions. He'll be succeeded by Devin Pritchard, a 19-year veteran of the video game industry and long-standing member of the NOA leadership team, and Satoru Shibata will join NOA as Chief Executive Officer. He's quoted as saying, "Leading Nintendo of America has been the honor of a lifetime, and I am proud of what our team has accomplished in both business results and the experiences we've created for consumers." So on one hand, you can look at it and say that he was just waiting for the right opportune moment, get the Switch 2 shipped out, and then that's it. You got the launch done and it was a success as far as you're concerned. And now it's time for him to bow out while effectively on top. And it seems like that's the theme that's being pushed online. And quite frankly, it could be the correct thing. Like, I'm not saying that it's not possible, and if anything, it might actually be the main reason why he decided to leave, effectively seeing his job as done. On the other hand, however, if, hypothetically speaking, the Switch 2 actually ended up not having as good of a launch as some people think, if, hypothetically speaking, Nintendo thought this thing was going to be selling more, at least in the West, specifically in America, where all of the Switch 2s currently sit on shelves, if, hypothetically speaking, the numbers come in and it turns out that this thing is just not doing nearly as well as Nintendo had anticipated over the course of July, August, September, and perhaps that could lead directly into the holiday season as well, then maybe President of Nintendo of America, where all of those things are happening, potentially, was let go because of his impact on some of this? Maybe? Maybe there were some business decisions on how he brought in his experience from EA that Nintendo had applied to their practices that might not necessarily appeal to the people in charge in Japan. These are all just maybes at the end of the day, right? Like, with everything that I've been covering since the launch of the Switch 2, it all stinks. It all smells funny. And it could be just a coincidence that, you know, scalpers are currently selling the Switch 2 at a loss even, not just at the same price. It could be a coincidence that Nintendo Switch 2s are pretty much on every single shelf in the United States right now. Maybe Nintendo just did that dang good of a job making sure there were just 4 or 5 or even 6 million units available in America from now that they were hoping to get shipped and sold. I don't know why I started with such high numbers, we just know that it's at 2 million as of July. The point is that there are a lot of maybes here right now. But what's kind of weird to me right now, and this could just be that I haven't found it yet because, like I said, I just walked into the house and started recording after seeing some of the news on my phone, but I don't see an announcement, I don't see a tweet, I don't see anything. There's no link to Nintendo saying this. The source comes from this news release of the announcement of personnel changes of company officers, which I realize is like an actual news release, right? But it seems very formal, like there's no tweet by Nintendo saying, hey, just bye-bye, Bowser. Now, Bowser himself has shared a tweet. I think he got to announce his retirement himself. But there's just silence on Nintendo's side. You'd think there'd be like a giant thank you with a bunch of pictures and stuff and a huge celebration. I mean, he's been with the company for 6 years. That's not an insignificant amount of time. Think about when Reggie left. When Reggie left, it was like impactful. Like everybody was talking about it. Everybody was celebrating his tenure. Everybody was sad that he was leaving the company. But I don't know, maybe this is part of the faceless and soulless Nintendo that he's created, or he's been a part of at least, for Nintendo of America. Like Reggie standing with Doug, handing off the reigns and he was named Bowser. It was like so funny and cool and everybody loved it. But right now, what is there? A single tweet? It's weird, man. Just like the entire freaking launch of this Switch 2 has been weird. Now, in fairness, it's still the early market hours right now, but on the back of this news, Nintendo's Japanese stock has actually climbed up a little bit. But that's probably more of a coincidence than anything else. It is interesting, though, that I think his role is basically been split into two positions. And if I'm not mistaken, Satoru Shibata was the former president of Nintendo of Europe, so it's not like it's nobody. And if I also am not mistaken, he used to do directs along with Reggie and Iwata. So I don't know if this is an attempt to bring some life into the party. I don't know if the president that's replacing him, Pritchford, is any better than he is as far as customer relations, because, I mean, what's Bowser's lasting legacy going to be? I know for the minority of people that like Nintendo Online right now, they're gonna look at me and be like, are you stupid? He had the best Switch ever, and then the launch of the Switch 2, best, fastest selling console, and that's his legacy. But, I mean, come on. You know how the streets will remember him. This was the dude that looked us dead in the eye after we said the Switch 2 was too expensive and said, if you are too broke to afford the Nintendo Switch 2, go and buy the Nintendo Switch 1. That is going to be his legacy. He's going to be the name of the man that everybody knows when they think about how expensive the Nintendo Switch 2 was, how expensive everything about the Switch 2 was. And that image is going to stick, especially in the West, because the name Bowser is much more memorable than the name Furukawa. There is zero chance when it comes to the legacy of this man in the online discourse is going to be anything other than the individual that took Nintendo and turned it into one of the greediest companies alive. Even if he wasn't the person at fault for it, he was there, he's the figurehead, he's the image, and he made that quote. And he was the president of Nintendo of America the day that they decided that the Switch 1 prices would increase in America. That's his legacy. That's all that anybody online will remember him as. And you can argue that everybody that's angry about the Switch 2 and everybody that actually doesn't have buyer's remorse because they didn't buy the Switch 2 is only a small minority, and it's clear because the Switch 2 is the fastest selling console ever. You can argue that until the cows come home. But the fact of the matter is, the online discourse, whether or not the Switch 2 is a success or a failure, is overwhelmingly against Nintendo and the Switch 2, and it was not like that in the Switch 1, no matter how revisionist you want to be. And it was especially never like that during Reggie's time. During Reggie's time, they laughed at the Wii U because it was like a Nintendo console that didn't sell well and they marketed it poorly, and everybody thought Nintendo was just having fun doing funny stuff with puppets or something. But there was no active hate towards Nintendo during the time of the Wii U. It was just like, what are these guys doing? During this entire latter half of the Switch 1, going into the launch of the Switch 2, that dynamic has dramatically shifted. That image of love that people used to have for Nintendo has died, even if the Switch 2 ends up being a success. And the face that everybody is going to remember, whether it's in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 or 20 years from now. The face that everyone will have on the back of their minds when they think about the day that Nintendo became the greediest company in the gaming world, during the months where they surpassed EA, during the months where they surpassed Ubisoft, during the months where they just became the worst company, whether it's in relation to prices, whether it's in relation to suing and bullying people, whether it's in relation to bricking people's consoles, whether it's in relation to shutting down charity events. The face that will be on the back of everybody's mind when they think about the day that Nintendo was no longer the company they loved is going to be Doug Bowser's. That's going to be his legacy. Remember, it's going to look pretty from the company's perspective. That's how it always does. But Doug Bowser is effectively, officially, Nintendo's Don Mattrick, with the statement he made about people needing to go and buy a Nintendo Switch 1 if they can't afford a Switch 2. And Don Mattrick, when he left Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer confirmed the move on an email to staffers, thanking Mattrick for setting them up on a path to completely redefine the entertainment industry. But that is not how we remember Don Mattrick. And likewise, nobody is going to remember Doug Bowser as the man that led Nintendo into the successful launch of the Nintendo Switch 2. And as a tribute to the worst president of Nintendo of America over the course of the past 20 years, I'd like to share the climactic ending of my very long Super Mario 64 retrospective that I will link in the description if you're interested. Goodbye, Dougie. You will not be missed at all. There is a lifeline. A single 1-up sits outside of the Bowser fight, which effectively allows players unlimited lives for this challenging fight. And kudos to the devs for that, because this fight will most certainly cause at least one game over otherwise. And to ramp up the difficulty, Bowser will take 3 hits this time. He'll have more attacks, and he'll have body paint left over from the rave he attended. But the actual hard part of this is that he removes the segments of the stage that lead up to the mines. And oh man, did they get me with this one. I hated them for it. Like, the only way a kid could cheese the previous fights was to go for the slow and steady short throws. But just like with so many other moments in this game, you eventually have to get to a point along the adventure where you have to learn how to master an aspect of the game if you want to move forward. The same way you had to master the running, the platforming, the swimming, the wall kicks, the puzzles, the exploration, the surfing, the surviving, the pole jumping, the obscure stage entrances, more puzzles, more platforms, more exploration, more determination, and more mastering. You have to do what the game demands of you. Spin those damn joysticks, time those damn A presses, and so longe the hell out of Bowser.